and welcome to the third installment of Gates of Hell Ostfront with Saxon 22. We're playing the Conquest Campaign as Germans. This is our third battle, so it's an attack. And we're going to showcase how to use engineers and medics. If you like the content, please hit like and subscribe, and possibly make a comment and share the content as well if you are that way inclined. And next screen here, we're going to go and start picking out our forces. We have 7.5 resource points to spend, and we're going to the research tree, and we're going to scroll down here, and we're going to find the units that I want to use. And I think I'm probably going to upgrade the tanks first of all. So currently we have a Panzer III. Going to upgrade to a Panzer IV-D today with that short-barreled 75mm gun, and we're going to take an 8cm mortar because I like using those. I like a well-rounded approach to infantry, support weapons and armor. In our force pool 2 here, we're going to put a Panzer IV in there and get rid of 2 of the Panzer IIIs. The reason I'm not going to all Panzer IVs is because the gun on the Panzer III has a better armor penetration value than the Panzer IV, whereas the 75mm gun on the Panzer IV has a bigger HE blast for clearing out defensive positions. I'll drag that one into deployment slot 2. And I'll show you here on the bottom right hand corner, when you click the tank itself, it shows you penetration and range on the main gun on any weapon system. But here you can see the Panzer IV with a 75mm gun has a 52mm armor penetration value. It's a bigger round for the HE blast, but it's not as good at penetrating with the armor. And I'll do the same thing on the Panzer III, and you can see a Panzer III will pretty much penetrate 62mm of armor, whereas the Panzer IV was back on 52 and it dropped off at range, whereas the Panzer III doesn't drop off at range. Also, the Panzer III has 3 machine guns, 2 up here on the coaxial mount and 1 in the bow mount. So it's worth having both of them in the battle at this stage of the game. Obviously better tanks will do better things in the future, but right now that's what we got. 1 Panzer IV and 2 Panzer IIIs in an assault mission, getting rid of some of the engineers here. I don't need too many engineers. I'm keeping deployment slot 1 as my infantry slot. I'm going to throw in the motorcycle and sidecar because that's where I hid a whole bunch of machine guns and grenades and light machine guns and submachine guns. And I think I'm about ready to deploy here. I've got a few points left in the infantry side, so I'm taking a mortar and taking an ammo box to resupply the mortars and anybody at the end of the game that it can. And that takes me very close. I'll add in a Panzer crew, spare Panzer crew to capture tanks and repair vehicles, and that's pretty much about it. We're ready to go. We're set on taking area Pintz. We go on the campaign map, and we have 3 that we can choose from. The top one and the bottom one seem to have research points, and the top one here has got research points, but it's a higher risk. It's a 3-star risk versus a 2-star risk. So I think we're going to stay with the bottom one, which I think is Pintz. I think that's the one it was set on when I logged into this screen. So yep, Pintz. There's the era style photograph. I did cut out the download time there for you guys, so you don't have to sit there and watch the download, which took about 5 minutes on my computer. And right now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the ground around us and where we're going. swamp. Didn't see that happening. So the main objective that I'm going to take is straight up the map to the northwest. And then the second objective is to the left of that, which is over in the west side, pretty close together. I have noticed in this game they've been close together quite a bit. I don't know whether that's just because of the size of the campaign, for game balance at the start, or if the mods have done that. But later on, we'll see, later in the game, when there's 3 or 4 objectives to take or defend, where they're spread out. So we're going to kind of hold up this logging camp right here. Weapons out of the motorcycle and sidecar combination. I've noticed there's a bit of lag going on here today, so I'm not sure if this video is going to turn out okay. I hope it does. As most of you know, I've not been playing on YouTube for very long, so I'm still getting used to using different systems. Right now I'm using Capwing to edit the videos, and I think that's where some of my lag issues come from when making the YouTubes. We'll see. Right now I'm getting some lag, and I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from. I may just have to muddle through it and produce this video, and maybe it'll be better next time. I'm hoping the sound as I record it matches the video later on when I put this all together. So right now I've skipped through a little bit of setup here, and I've gone to loading weapons into the infantry section, the scout section, which is what I prefer. It's only 5 soldiers, and I'm getting rid of the rifles and giving them light machine guns and submachine guns captured from the Russians in Battle 1. It's one of the very appealing parts of the game is you can capture weapons and equip your troops and vehicles the way you want them. Well, troops I guess mostly. That's that one done. And I'm going through the scout section here, which is really more about a 5-man team, and I'm upgrading their weapons from rifles to light weapons. So they've got a bit more volume of fire when they're engaged with the enemy. So let's see here. I'm having some lag issues. Shaking my mouse around a little bit. Don't know what's going on there. Let's see if we can get this guy some weapons. Give him the submachine gun. And get rid of the rifle and the ammo.
Das könnte nützlich werden.
Das könnte nützlich werden.
I suppose I don't really need to get rid of the rifle ammo, but I do anyway. And if you left click with the mouse, it sends everything in a stack over. Unless you do what happened there, then you just disappear.
Ja.
Got some goofiness going on this video, I apologise for that. You may not see it once it's been produced, hopefully you will. Once it's been through the editing process, but we'll see. Get rid of the rifle, get rid of the rifle ammo. And add a submachine gun, drag it over, send over the magazines for the submachine gun. 5 or 6 should do it, plenty.
Das könnte nützlich werden.
I'm going to have to replenish this at the end of this battle. Although I'll probably pick a different vehicle. The motorcycle was a cheap capture vehicle to hold all the spare weapons and ammo in. I may not use it at the end of this one if I get a better one. There's a little T-20 tank, or tankette, or armoured personnel carrier that I like to steal because it can carry troops and it can carry weapons and equipment inside of it. It acts as kind of a mobile supply locker. This is the assistant gunner, giving him a submachine gun, a couple of grenades, and I've got to give him some magazines here. There we go. I like to give him 5 or 6 mags each. And that should be him set to go. It's worth noting I'm doing all of this outside of the range of the ammo box. Otherwise they just keep filling back up with rifle ammo and first aid kits. You can use that to your advantage, I guess. It's a section leader, and we'll give him a little bit of upgrades here. The anti-tank grenade and the Molotov cocktail firebomb, basically. And what else? A couple of hand grenades. Those pineapple type grenades the Russians use. And I think I'm set to go here. I'm going to go ahead and give the sniper a submachine gun and some ammo for it. And I wonder if I should give him an anti-tank grenade. Give him a couple of hand grenades at least. And a Molotov cocktail, so he's got some anti-tank or anti-vehicle capacity. And an anti-tank grenade. It's nearly got rid of his rifle ammo there by accident. And the medic has got just a little pistol, so I'm going to equip him a little bit so he can be more effective on the battlefield. I think I've got a submachine gun left in here. Yes, there I do. And that, couple of grenades maybe? There's probably a rule against that, but it's war. War is hell. So he's good to go. So I have 2 infantry teams now. I've got the command team, which is a sniper, a commander, and a medic. And I've got a rifle team or a scout team, which is a 5-man team on the right there. Time to get rolling towards the enemy. The enemy's straight up the map here towards the northwest. So I'm going to move all 3 tanks up here in a line so they can start putting a bit of suppressive fire on this objective. Up here, I'm kind of got to negotiate around this swamp and kind of got get my tanks in order. 1, 2, 3, left to right. Just means less mental processing. Where's this tank going? This is an example of the tank deciding to drive goofy when you give it directions to go somewhere. So I'm just going to manually drive it to where I want it. Sometimes it's quicker to take over when you catch it driving crazy around a tree stump or something like that. You just kind of have to take control of it like I have here. And get him facing the right way. And I just put them out of order, so I'm going to take number 1 here and put number 1 on the left, 2 the Panzer IV in the middle, and 3 on the right. Just waiting for that first tank to get out of the way. And then we're going to go ahead and move up in line, and already we've encountered some of the Russian infantry, the spotters out here. And they should not be turning around and around like that. Tank number 3 is being goofy. I want him to turn back this way. I've taken manual control. You can see when the weapon bar pops up on the bottom that I've taken manual control. And now we're going to pull forward in a line and start destroying the defenses. The biggest concern I have at first when I first move up like this is being nailed by any anti-tank guns that might be there. Vehicles I would see in this open terrain right away, but anti-tank guns you might not see. They're lower profile and harder to find. And then the next threat in order would be fire throwers, flame throwers, sorry. Fire throwers. I guess it does do that, but wrong word. And then anti-tank rifles. I'm going to try and use as much ground to my effect as I can, or best effect. I'm going to park like this tank on the left. I'm parking it in the water where it'll be kind of hulled down to any fire from the front. And I'm already pulling up an engineer to have him set down defences. But rather than having him running out in the open, I'm going to have him run around the right side here, and then he's going to wait behind this tank on the right until the tanks have suppressed the enemy infantry, and then I can start digging defensive positions for mortars and infantry to follow on. Primarily I'm worried about getting the mortar up here, so I'm going to put a mortar pit in here by making some sandbag defences. That'll be a good start right there, and then the mortars can move up behind the safety of that once it's complete. I think he was running real slow in there because that's representing a marsh or a swamp. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just the video quality or the graphics resolution that's causing him to run slowly. Now I'm placing a third sandbag here. If I can get it to situate. The third sandbag will kind of cover the gap in between sandbags. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but I can physically see it. So I'm trying to block off that center gap between those two sandbags behind it. Plus having an extra sandbag layer in front helps when they start to take fire. The first sandbag takes the damage. I'm thinking about putting a tank pit here, but you only get 2 per engineer, and it didn't take anyway. The ground was wrong, so I think I'm just going to fix the wings here like this with a sandbag wall, 1 on each side, and then I'll pull the mortar up and put it right here. And then when this guy, as soon as he finishes, I'll have the other sandbag for the other wing ready. These engineers are very, very useful in defense and attack. I'm basically making a secure location for the mortars and any infantry to follow up with the engineer, while the tanks have been suppressing this place. So it looks like they've done a good job of killing all the bad guys, all the Russians, or the enemy. Bad guys probably isn't a fair expression. And then as we move up, I'm going to use the ground as best I can to stay hull down. Put this Panzer IV in this low swamp here. And move this guy up a little bit. To the water here. Something goofy's happened here on the left. This guy's swimming. It means there must be deeper water on the right side. I don't know why he got out of the tank. Trying to get him to pull forward, but I'm not getting the graphics I want. I don't know whether that's a glitch or not. I'm trying to drive it forward now, and it's not driving forward. This guy is kind of hard to get. This guy's taking damage on the right. I'm not sure what from. Oh, I see it. I think there's a gun on the far right there, or a mortar. On the right, just up there. There it is. See the flash? So that's causing a bit of damage. Might want to move this tank up and get a bit more power going, more firepower going. Move this engineer out of a goofy position, out of cover, into a place in cover so he doesn't get shot while I'm not paying attention. And this fight up here is going better now that that tank has figured out where that anti-tank gun is. Right there. And the mortar, I'm trying to get the range on, but you'll see there's a range number next to the aiming crosshairs right now, and it's red, which means I'm out of range. So I've either got to move the mortar up, or I've got to have the tanks kill that anti-tank gun. This guy here is still stuck. I'm trying to drive him out, and I'm not having any joy driving him out of this swamp. I will knock down this fence though with the 75mm gun, because the enemy are hiding behind it. So if he's stuck in that position, I may have to just leave him here as fire support for this first objective, but he won't be able to see the second objective. So I kind of messed up by driving him into the swamp. I didn't think it was deep enough to do any problems, but clearly it is. And I'm firing HE rounds with that Panzer IV. That's what it's there for. The mortar's in range. He's definitely giving somebody some pain. Dealing out the pain. And reinforcements are coming from the other objective. I think it's E for Echo. It's further back. So the vehicles are showing up. The infantry are coming down that road. That looks like the main supply road that they're using to navigate. I'm trying to get the mortar range up here, but I don't have it. So that means I'm probably going to have to move these tanks forward. I'm going to repair this one first. Its tracks are hit. And this guy's still swimming, although apparently I can send him to the back. That might be good. Can he get in? I wonder if he'll end up getting right back out again. I don't know why he got out in the first place, so I'm a bit suspicious about that. And this guy over here is repairing away nicely. The mortars are firing. I'm going to have to bring up the ammo can soon to replace the rounds on that mortar. And now the enemy mortar's got range on me. And that tank is still stuck. That's an official term, stuck. Stuck in the mud. Left-hand Panzer, I'm moving it up. And I'm going to face this way to get range on that vehicle right there. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's a T-37. And there's a mortar up here as well. That's what's causing me some pain. Fortunately, early on there aren't a lot of points on my side or the enemy side, so it's not going to be horribly brutal right now. It's pretty well balanced, I think. I absolutely love this game. I think it's one of the best games to come out in 2022. I've been playing it for the better part of a year. You can play single player or multiplayer. I do play with friends. You can play the campaign with friends. I'll do at least one battle with some of my buddies controlling some of this stuff. And I'm going to try and take this objective here. This first objective. Once you take objectives, the enemy's ability to generate victory points, which you see in the top right of the screen, or top center of the screen I should say. He's got 371 out of 1,000. If the enemy gets to 1,000 points, he wins. My job is to take the victory locations or capture the flags so that they start losing points. And I'm thinking about moving the engineer up here to start digging in some defenses. I'll put this tank behind this already existing sandbag wall on the right by the flag. And he is damaged slightly. It looks like the main hull is damaged, and the transmission is damaged, and the turret is damaged. The other one's doing just fine. I do enjoy this game quite a bit. And they've made quite a few improvements. They've averaged one update every month throughout the last year, and they even brought out new content. And they've added vehicles, and they've worked heavily on the AI and gameplay and game balance. A lot of fun. right here. I'm trying to position this tank just in the right spot so it doesn't damage the sandbags, but he's got a bit of cover from the right and straight ahead. And this tank here is Panzer IV. Come back up. Oh, victory. I'm backing up out of the swamp. I don't know why I didn't think of that in the first place. Rather than manually driving it out, I've asked the AI to drive it out and back it up. So we are back in action with the Panzer IV. That 75mm short-barreled assault gun, really. Kind of a turreted assault gun tank. It does have some AP rounds, but primarily I use it for the HE rounds. Until I get something better later on in the game. So we're looking about as good as we should be right now. We're taking the first objective before the enemy has reached the halfway point on the victory points, which is about where I like to be. And I'm going to hold here for a while and make defenses around these tanks, and then I'll possibly get some infantry up here to support and put them in trenches, and the engineers and medics will go to work holding this objective while the enemy burns up their points trying to take this objective back from me. So kind of gone into a defensive phase. I want to put down some tank emplacements, and is that going to work there with that tree in the way? I think it might. I'm manually turning this tank. One of the things the tanks don't do is they don't turn the hull to face the enemy, so I have to do that manually, or you can give it commands to face a certain direction when it gets to a location. But having that bow gun engage a lot of the time is dependent on having the hull of the tank face the right direction. Many times you have to take a look at which way the enemy is attacking or overrunning you from, and then make sure the tank is pointing in the right direction. And the engineer is crawling, I've just noticed. Go ahead and make him run. Run, rabbit, run. And then put some sandbags up. Sometimes it's worth just getting people moving in the right direction by making them run, and then going back on them and clicking down the action that you want them to do, like dig something in or set up the first aid tent. And this guy should have been digging a trench over here, so I'm going to set that into motion again. I think that's a better angle anyway, looking straight down that street. And then tank number 1, I'll back it up into that position. And that tank is also providing a little bit of cover from small arms fire for the engineer who's digging. And I see somebody shooting from the right here. I don't know what's going on. Some Russian infantry in the haystacks there. I'll move the tank up to cover him. And eventually he'll stick his head up and get shot. And that leaves the cover for the engineer to dig his tank trench. You see that little action bar at the bottom showing his progress while he's digging that trench, that emplacement I should say. And I'm now going to emplace a trench right here with the other engineer. So the engineers stay busy in my campaign. I like to use them a lot. They can only dig so many trenches and tank emplacements. They get 2 tank emplacements each usually, unless you take the next level of engineer up, which we will take later in the campaign, and I'll show you that. And now I'm going to have the Panzer troops repair that tank number 3, that Panzer III. I'm going to move the command team of the infantry up to this side here when I get a good spot to put them in. I think I'll just have to settle and pick a spot. Not finding a good spot really to send them, so I'm just going to click them up there and worry about it later. And right now the enemy reinforcements are coming from the right side, from the north and the west. And I am just kind of shooting them as they show up. Knock down some fences here so everybody can shoot back. Less places for the attacking Russian infantry to use as cover to get close to me. And keep an eye out for enemy tanks, enemy guns, and enemy anti-tank rifles, which are a real pain at this time in the game, because anti-tank rifles can do a lot of damage to tanks right now. Later on in the game they don't show up as much and they can't do as much. But right now they're a super pain. Now 14.5mm, I think it's a BA-7 armoured car. Not anymore, it ain't. Is toast. So I'll move the infantry back into here. That tanker is still fixing the tank. Infantry coming up from the north. See all the white disabled weapons, the chevrons and the arrows on there, the arrowheads. That is enemy vehicles that I've disabled that I will be capturing towards the end of the game. I spend as much time running around picking up weapons and vehicles capturing as I do actual playtime, taking the objectives in the first place. I think that's part of the appeal, at least for me, to pick up the enemy tanks and weapons, upgrade your tanks, upgrade your infantry sections at least. And we have Lieutenant Udo Von Saltz, his sniper and his medic and his engineer all occupying the trench. I'm going to use the engineers now to make secondary sandbag positions around the tank positions, especially from the right, which is where I'm worried about that anti-tank rifle and that mortar coming from. And there wasn't an anti-tank gun up there on the right side or the north end of the map, and somehow the mortars have got range of me. They've crept in close enough to see me, and the mortars are ranging me right now, so I gotta go find it. Mortar can't do a lot of damage, but it's enough that if it gets a shot on the right place, it can disable a tank. And especially the 120mm mortar. I think I just got a lag spike there that hopefully it's on my computer and it won't show up on the final video, but we'll see when you watch this. If you catch that, please make sure you say something in the notes or comments. And then when you see that's an anti-tank rifle, and when you see them in red, that means they've got a bit of cover. Like the one on the left there. There's an anti-tank rifle right there. There's a mortar right there under the crosshairs right now. And I'm using the main gun and the coaxial machine gun, and then the crewman is still alive, so the crewman is using the bow machine gun. That's not me doing that, that's the crewman doing that. See, he's red, so he's behind cover. And I'm trying to get a good angle on just hitting him. Maybe I can break the cover, apparently not. And there's a mortar back there. I don't know if you can see it very well. That guy keeps popping back up here with the anti-tank rifle. See that long barrel? The mortar is still back there by the flag, and I think that's what's causing me a bit of grief right now. And I think I'm going to move up this tank. I'm going to back him up so I don't knock over the sandbags, otherwise he'd drive right over those sandbags. And those sandbags are providing a lot of cover for the infantry that are in the trench. And you could say, well, get rid of the sandbags and then the infantry can shoot out. But right now the infantry in the defensive posture they kind of want to be able to clobber anything that comes around that cover at short range. That's my thinking, at least. Well, another big lag spike. I've got like 2 or 3 lag spikes in a row here. I hope they're not messing up with the video. I'll have to edit it out later, I suppose. Wow. Infantry on the right. More lag. More lag again. This is an example of the AI driving in a funny pattern or way that I don't want them to, so I'm taking over and manually driving it into the right place. There's nothing you couldn't have driven over quite safely there, but that tank went a bit crazy. Move this engineer into a bit of safety. Actually, I'm going to pull him up here and put those sandbags out so that I can have the crewmen get out and repair that tank. And this way I'm just going to take the objective, and that will cease their points from regenerating once I take that. And once this one is fixed, I'll move it up too. And then very shortly you'll see the radial clock is counting down from red ownership. And then it goes into a neutral phase of neutral ownership. And then I'll build it back up. As the German flag captures the point here. Well, we capture the point and the German flag goes up the pole. Moving up another sandbag there. Halfway captured. And once I capture that, I'm going to go into reorg phase where I go looting the battlefield. And bring the mortar up here, kind of help support fire, bring the ammo up here so they can start reloading the ammo supply for the mortar for next battle. Also the infantry will restock their ammo, and the tank will restock their ammo. I'm just going to put a trench out here facing the east. I might occupy that, although I think it's safe now to the north, I should say, not the east. And victory! We win! Woohoo! Okay, so I will edit this down now so that you don't see the next hour's worth of me running around the battlefield looting. But you'll see that these guys down here are all going to get new weapons. And I'm going to pick one of these vehicles, probably that half-track right there, and load that up. I've also put in extra mortar rounds and used the ammo box to refill the mortar. So that I got a bunch of extra mortar rounds, a bunch of extra weapons, and it's all sitting in there repairing and capturing enemy tanks, guns and mortars. Any vehicle I can, because that can be traded in for points in the game. In between battles you can sell enemy vehicles that you've captured for points. And this half-track here is now my company supply truck. It can carry troops, it can carry weapons, and then it can carry spare gear and mortars. And there we go, I'm finishing the game out. That's about an hour's worth of time edited out right there. so you didn't have to watch me looting everything. And I hope you enjoyed that. I know I did. I'm really enjoying making this. Here's my 5 research points. And I've already got the next battle queued up. I'm editing it as we speak. And it'll be out shortly. So this is battle 3 that you've just watched. And battle 4 will be hitting in the next day or 2. I thank you for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. And place a comment if you can. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.